How do you go from selling baseball cards to the webinar king sort of stage?
One of the things I realized is that you can make a lot of money selling courses. You can have a high converting sales presentation for your business done with the help of AI.
So my webinar that I do in English will sound like me with my voice, but be in German, Spanish, Swedish, whatever I want it to be.
It's gotten ridiculously easy. Yeah.
Right.
If you can navigate Facebook, you can do this, and it's probably easier than that.
Hey, Ashley Kemp here, and I'm here with Stefan Ciancio. Good to have you here, brother.
Thanks for having me.
How's things, bro?
Things are good here in Dubai. Really love it.
You don't really sound like you love it, bro. Get some of that energy up.
It's morning, you know. So.
Yeah. So I've got a few questions today for Stefan. So Stefan's like, if you don't know who he is, do you want to introduce yourself, Ashley, as
sure.
and your company, what it is that you do?
Yeah. So I'm founder of WebinarKit, co-founder of WebinarKit. We are an automated webinar software company, and we do a few other things to help online businesses get more sales and automate so that they don't have to stress out on A, how they're going to get their sales and clients, and B, how much work they're going to have to put in to get them. So we do that. I'm from New York. I actually used to be a mechanical engineer, and I was always entrepreneurial. When I was 14, I was creating websites, writing letters to baseball players, getting their autographs, and then selling it online. And actually even selling an ebook to hobbyists on how to actually get these autographs through the mail of like signed baseball cards. So I was selling since I was 14 online. So I've always been very entrepreneurial, call it coming from immigrant roots, whatever you want to call it. I've always had that gene in me. And essentially over the years, I always was trying different things. And, I went to college, I got a degree, and I was working a job that I hated, and I knew that I had to get out of that to do something for myself. I wanted to travel. I wanted to live in New York City at the time, see the world, and my job was not going to afford me the freedom or the cash flow to actually do those things. So I had to, A, get out of my job and then figure out how to do that. So I went on this massive entrepreneurial path and eventually saw the power of webinars, and webinars are what allowed me to sell multiple things online. I've sold courses, coaching, agency services, e-commerce products, and now software. So in addition to running so many webinars in my business, I actually co-founded a webinar software to help other people run webinars in their business to get sales. And it's pretty crazy because we were using webinars in our own business and we saw the flaws in the market. And me and my co-founder said, we know that we could create something better because we were marketers ourselves. So we knew what was missing. So we actually went and created it. So that's kind of a little bit of a backstory.
Yeah, so it's a good backstory. But how do you go from selling baseball cards to launching webinars to then creating one of the leading webinar softwares pretty much in the world right now? You're kind of like in the webinar king sort of status from what I would say, like from what I know. How do you go from like baseball cards to webinar to a totally different business, because webinars selling something, that's all well and good, but then having a software business is a whole different league, right? So how does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there was a lot of steps in there that I didn't mention, but essentially, I would say that baseball card stuff just kind of shows the gene I have in me to sell stuff. And essentially, as I got older, at my first job, the stuff that I ended up trying was I was selling stuff on eBay. And while I was selling stuff on eBay, I actually saw a video on YouTube because I was watching videos of people who sell stuff online and, on eBay, and I was seeing like what products sold. And there was a related video that said how I make 6 figures a year publishing Kindle ebooks. And that really appealed to me because I'm like, wait, I could create something digital once and then sell it over and over again without having to ship all of these things in my apartment that I had. And I had to constantly restock inventory from garage sales. I was selling random stuff on eBay that I got at garage sales.
So what was it that you had success with as a webinar? So going from this whole physical stuff, like what was the first webinar that you did that was like, oh shit, I'm onto something here?
Yeah, so when I did the Kindle course, one of the things I realized is that you can make a lot of money selling courses. So I was like, what can I create a course on? And at the time, because I was tinkering in a bunch of different ways to make money online, one of the things I had was a dog blog called Doggy Desires. And
Doggy Desires.
Yeah. So I know it was a new marketer at the time. So, it is what it is. But essentially, I had this website and I managed to drive 1 million visitors to it with Pinterest.
Whoa.
For free.
I don't know anyone doing anything on Pinterest.
Yeah, Pinterest could be pretty powerful, but essentially I said to myself, I'm like, this is what I'm going to make a course on. So I launched that course at a low price. I think I started between $7 and $27. And eventually I realized that, wait a minute, there was a lot of people who needed additional help. So I said, I can actually turn this course into a program. And when I did that, I raised my price. The cheapest I sold it next was $700. It was a big jump from 7 to 700.
Not a couple zeros.
Yeah, basically.
It's a good way of testing the price.
Yeah.
And you have people buying it at 700.
Well, I didn't at first until I launched my first webinar.
Okay.
And then my webinar, I was able to sell at that price point. And then I realized if you want to sell at higher price points, you need a webinar.
So why is that?
So a webinar at the end of the day is just a sales presentation that's structured in a way that can turn a stranger into a sale in as little as 45 minutes. Now, the reason it works so well is because it leverages human psychology. So if I go up to a woman on the street and I say, hey, I would like to marry you, what is she going to say?
Well, unless it's love at first sight, it's probably a no, right?
Yeah, so 99.9, yes, sure. There's that rare instance that it might happen, but in most cases, I'm going to get looked at like I have 15 heads. So essentially, what a sales presentation, there's a process, right? Like you have to say, what time is it? What's your name? Let's go on a date, so that you warm people up to eventually get them to the end result. Now, with sales, it's a similar thing where people go on a customer journey. So maybe the first step that they see is a YouTube video with you. Maybe the next step is they opt in to get your free PDF. But that journey could take a very long time. It could take 3 months, 6 months, a year, maybe way more than that. But what you're doing with a sales presentation is you're collapsing that timeline into the minimum amount of time it takes to turn a stranger into a client or a sale, if you structure it the right way. So within 45 minutes, you can go from total stranger to them pulling out their wallet and buying something from you. And the secret sauce is in the sequence of what that webinar looks like.
Got it. So what's the most that you've seen sold on a webinar? Because you've got a software, right? You've got 10,000 plus members now, is it?
We've had over 20,000 use it.
20,000 businesses on it, right? So like, what's the sort of like highest price product you're seeing sold on a webinar in 2025?
Honestly, it really depends on the setup, but I would say like regardless of your price point, whether you're $300 or you're $50,000, a webinar is going to be powerful because what some people do is they sell directly on the back end of the webinar, and what other people do is they link to a book a call. And the difference is instead of just putting out your product or service and saying, hey, we have this product or service, book a call here, you're putting them through a sequence before they can take that action. And you're getting them to be warmed up enough that if they do book a call with you, ideally all their objections were already handled on the sales presentation. They are coming onto the call warm. And then when they do come onto the call warm, they're likely going to be a much easier sell for your sales team. So what's really cool is regardless of your price point and regardless of if you're selling directly on the webinar or you have a sales team, this is going to work.
Got it. So when it comes to the actual webinar, building a webinar, say that like for coaches, it makes sense, super easy. Anyone selling a course, anyone selling an agency, all that stuff seems quite easy and logical to be able to sell on a webinar. But are there any types of businesses that a webinar just doesn't work for?
It's a good question, and the crazy thing is, I believe it works for just about anything. There's even a woman out there who created a 5-minute webinar to sell her soap bar. Yeah. So it's pretty crazy. Like at the end of the day, every product or service has a message behind it, right?
Sure. So it doesn't have to be long because you said just now that it like from 45 minutes, but you said hers is 5 minutes. So a webinar can be much shorter than 45 minutes.
Sure. I mean, selling a soap bar is obviously going to be a much easier sell than a $50,000 or even $5,000 information product or service. So yes, there's some variables around the time of the webinar. But
what would you say like for $1,000 product, or say I'm a fitness influencer, say that I sell a 12-week transformation plan, how would you price that or like tier that out in the form of a webinar? Would that be a book a call or would that be a 1,500 buy now at the end of it? Like what would that be in the perfect scenario for you?
You said it's an 8-week program?
Yeah, 12 weeks, whatever.
It really depends on knowing your customer avatar. I think that's the first step, right? Like who are you targeting, right? Like are you targeting people that have a lot of money? Are you targeting people that don't have a lot of money? I think that needs to be factored in. But if I'm targeting average 9-to-5ers who maybe don't have a lot of time and just want to get in shape, and I wanted to create something, I'd probably start on the lower end. So I'd probably like start around maybe 1997 for a 12-week program. And
$2,000.
Yeah.
That's the lower end of the power of selling on webinars.
Sure. I mean, yeah, these days, yeah. I mean, you're giving your personal time, right? So depending on what's included, but I would aim for that, and I would call that case study pricing.
Sure.
And I would I would tell them, you need to, if you get results, you need to give me a testimonial at the end. And then I would have a bunch of testimonials that I would then use. And as I continued to sell, I'm a big fan of starting at lower prices and then going up. But at the end of the day, I would start lower and then I would increase it.
Got it. So coming back more to the software side of the business now, because you're clearly knowledgeable with the webinar, and I'm guessing you got trainings and stuff to teach people how to do a webinar within WebinarKit. But
and how to build it in AI.
Okay. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so back in the day, it would take 6 months to create a webinar. Like I would be sitting there, and for everyone, right? Even if you're following a template, you got to come up with the content for every slide. You're pulling your hair out. You're like, oh, this is awful, right? It takes forever. Oh, it takes forever. Now you can take a proven template, upload it into AI, and have AI create the first draft. And you can even have AI edit it. But like I actually built a new webinar recently, and I was amazed. Within an hour, I took it from not even having the script ready to having a script ready with exactly what goes on each slide, ready for a designer or even for an AI program to build the slides. I had that done within the inside of an hour between starting my prompts with AI and then giving it a once over myself. And that webinar is selling every day for us.
Amazing. So in theory, I could find 5 people in the world with my sort of niche industry offer. I could download their webinars, transcribe them, put them into AI, and then it would spit out a new webinar for me based on XYZ variable that makes it unique to me.
You could do that. You could do it based on competitors. You could do it based on like a general template that's been proven to sell, like one of the ones we have and give you. But yeah, either one works.
And are there other webinar softwares out there that can do the AI stuff that you guys are doing?
At the moment, not to my knowledge, and we're really leaning into AI heavy this year. So we're adding in the ability for you to do AI selling. So honestly, the issue with a lot of and just for people who don't know, you could take your webinar and put it inside what's called an automated webinar platform, meaning the product, people opt in, you set it up so that the webinar is pre-recorded, people opt into a landing page, they could pick the time of their choosing to watch your presentation. And while they're watching it, there is one issue that I've seen that most platforms have, is when people are typing in the chat, if someone is ready to buy from you and they got their credit card out, but they have one last question, one last single objection, like, hey, I'm interested, I'm ready to buy, but can you answer this question? If you're on an automated webinar and you don't have the ability for your webinar to use AI to personally respond to that person's inquiry with an answer that actually makes sense, you're going to lose that sale.
Wait, so you have like an AI agent doing the conversational selling?
Yeah, more or less.
In the chat,
Correct.
not you?
Correct. During your automated webinar, you could have your presentation run and have our AI agent sell for you in the chat.
Whilst you sleep?
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, and that's already there. We also have a lot more AI features that are coming this year, but our goal is to make it so you don't need to be anywhere else to build your sales presentation and run it. Everything's going to be able to be done in-house in our software. You don't have to pay a copywriter $20,000. You don't need to pull your hair out for 6 months trying to figure out how to create the webinar. You can have a high converting sales presentation for your business done with the help of AI, built on our years of proven expertise doing multiple 7 figures online with webinars, all programmed in and then channeled into your business.
So day one user, I'm getting started with this. I'm trying to sell tables. Like I have a table or custom furniture business, high ticket. How long would it take me to go from never doing a webinar in my life to having an automated webinar, as you said, within WebinarKit?
Yeah, so what I would do first is I would use the templates that we have inside WebinarKit and WebinarKit Academy. I would use our training that shows you how to get your customer avatar, identify unique pain points, position yourself against your competition, and then basically when you do that, you help optimize your offer. So honestly, a furniture company, right, you want to go from selling a product to selling an offer. Even in e-commerce, this works. So once I had all that done, which we show you how to do in the training as well as help you do with AI, I would then go and grab our proven to sell template. I would grab the information for the offer, plug that into AI, get my sales presentation, then I would either use AI to sell it. I would use AI to build the presentation slides, or I would hire a designer. Now, again, the part that you could do inside WebinarKit is right now just the training and then showing you how to use external AI platforms. But soon, we're going to be able to have all this done in-house. But the process right now could still be done quite easily. Once you do that and you have your sales presentation, you could either record it yourself, eventually use the AI voice agent inside WebinarKit that will record it for you. That's coming.
Oh, wow, that's great. So I could have, like, could I make an AI version of myself, or would it be...
That's coming eventually too.
Yeah.
We're going to have like AI voices that you like agents that you could choose from right away.
Yeah.
But eventually we want to get to the point where we have it so that you could train your voice and it'll create the webinar in your voice. And that is going to be a game changer.
Yeah, that'd be amazing for things like split testing, testing new price angles.
Yeah, it'd just save you so much time. And so that's coming. And then ideally take that video, whether you build it inside WebinarKit or not, you put it into our automated webinar software. You could build that funnel, the automated webinar funnel, in as little as 10 minutes without any experience, no coding, no anything. So honestly, these days you can do this so much easier than you've ever been able to do it before. You don't need to be a marketing expert. You honestly just need to leverage the tools and the training that we give you. And if you could just follow those, you can have a high converting webinar as if it was written by a top copywriter that would charge you an arm and a leg for it, and then put it into our software so that it's selling 24/7 for you for any product or service. You could do that in record time.
That's amazing. But what about, like, I hear the argument of live webinars are better than automated webinars. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
So we've actually, so it's interesting our perspective, right? Because we run a webinar platform. So we have access to data of how people are running webinars, right? And one interesting thing that we picked up from our platform is that the average live webinar on our platform is 20 minutes longer. It's about 80 to 90 minutes. Whereas the average automated webinar is about 60 minutes. That's the first thing that we noticed.
So do you think that's like fluff?
I think when you're doing things live, you don't have time to optimize or polish. So there's probably, and you're waiting for people to show up live, whereas it's like an automated webinar, it's kind of like pre-done. So you're not like talking to people, you're not answering a bunch of different questions. So it's a little bit more optimized, but that's part of it. But what I was getting at with that was, your automated webinar could be shorter, which means less work, right? So doing a bunch of live webinars over and over again that are longer, you can have an optimized presentation that's shorter, which theoretically means less work. That's one benefit. But also what's interesting that we found with automated webinars is they had a lower opt-in rate, but a higher viewership rate by almost double. So
really?
essentially, there's less people in the moment that will opt in for an automated webinar. It makes sense, right? They can get in at any time. They see the time. A live one, there's a higher amount of people that will opt in right away because they're like, oh, this is more limited. This is more scarce. I have to show up at this exact time to get this. But the show up rate was so much higher on the automated because, again, the people who are opting in, they know that they can watch on their time. It's like Netflix, right? Like a new show comes out on HBO Max at 9 p.m. on Sunday. I'm watching White Lotus now, and that comes out every Sunday at 9 p.m. I don't often reach it at 9 p.m. Sometimes I'm busy. So maybe I watch it 3 days later. Maybe I watch it 3 years later, right? But I know that it's there, and I can watch it at any time. Whereas a live webinar, it has to be watched at that time, and a lot of people end up missing it these days because people lead busy lives.
So does an automated webinar need to feel like a live webinar?
Well, before I answer that, the interesting thing is, just to elaborate on that point, the automated webinar actually brings in more viewers. So if 100 people opt into your webinar, you will get 1.5 times the amount of people that actually get to your pitch on an automated webinar versus a live. So 50% higher viewership could lead to 50% higher conversions.
It means you can spend 50% more to acquire a
Yeah,
lead.
more money on ads, anything like that.
Yeah.
And just having this automated asset running in your business 24/7, I think is just a necessity because, like, again, you could still run live webinars on top of it, right? But the people who are consuming the content of your automated webinar that's running 24/7, A, you're going to get more buyers now, and B, you're building an audience of people who know you, like you, trust you, and see you as an authority on the subject. You've already differentiated yourself from the competition. So essentially now, it's just something that's running in your business 24/7, and you could run live webinars on top of it. Imagine all the people who watched your automated webinar but haven't bought yet, and you say you're coming out and doing a live webinar. They're going to be thrilled to get on a live call with you. They're going to be excited because they've already gone through your sales presentation that positioned you as someone knowable, likable, trustworthy, and an authority. So now they're like, wow, I can't believe I get a chance to get on this call.
So you think that maybe for the live, the value in going live would be the question and answers of you actually on video, and John in the comments has said, hey, like, will this work in Australia? And you're like,
Yeah.
hey, John, yeah, of course it will, mate. Like, and then it's just like, you got the real element that you could never get in the automated.
Correct. I actually believe a joint approach is best. But if anything, you should have that automated running 24/7.
So what's a joint approach?
Running your automated webinar 24/7, and then running a live webinar every so often. Because you're collecting leads from the automated webinar, and then when you do that live webinar once a month or whenever it is, your audience is already warmed. So when you get them on the live webinar, imagine trying to get a bunch of cold people on a live webinar versus a bunch of people who feel like they have a relationship with you because they watched your automated webinar already. Now they get on the live webinar, they're your fans already. So what are they going to do? They're going to be way more engaged. They're going to be way more likely to buy from you. So it's a win-win.
And what about for people in Spain or Germany or Sweden or like countries that just aren't English? Does like your software work for those people, or is that something that's coming? Like,
so what's really interesting is right now you can create funnels that in any language. So you could create your whole webinar funnel in any language. When we get to the AI voice agent, that's another actual powerful feature that I appreciate you mentioning. That eventually you're going to be able to translate into any language. So
so my webinar that I do in English will sound like me with my voice, but be in German, Spanish, Swedish, whatever I want it to be.
That's going to be the goal, yeah. It's not there yet, but it's going to be there, yeah. That's one of our plans.
That'd be amazing, because we like to do a lot of stuff in Spanish, but you need a full Spanish translation, like the course backend, and having that ability to just be able to deliver something that works in English to a market that I don't speak the language of is powerful.
Yeah, super powerful. I mean, even us, I would love to translate our webinar into different languages, you know?
Yeah. So that'd be something that you guys do, I guess.
Yeah, we're working on it. For now, you could still do that part externally. You could hire someone in a different language to record and upload it to WebinarKit. But yeah, we're going to try to make things even easier for people.
Cool. So finishing off, what would you advise to someone who is wondering if a webinar is for them? Say they think it takes a lot of time. I used to think webinars take a lot of time. They used to take a lot of time. Yeah. Every time I'd ever do one, it'd take weeks. And I'd be like, right, I'm going to have this scripted this week, then I'm going to record it this week, then I'm going to edit it this week. And before you know it, you're 2 months into the thing before you've even built it. You can do it now in what, days?
Honestly, a day, if not less. I mean, it's pretty powerful. I mean, I was even amazed at myself. The most recent one I did was about a month and a half ago, and I sat down, and from the moment I started with typing into like Claude AI is the one that I like to use. It gave me the whole webinar script, first draft, within 10 minutes, and I just spent like 45 minutes editing it. So within the inside of an hour, I had the script ready to go. Now you could pay a designer, or you could use Canva, or you could even use, there's a bunch of AI presentation builders now that you could use to dump that script into AI, and it'll give you the presentation. So yeah, I mean, the inside of a day, you could have, including the slides and everything, you could have something ready to go.
So literally anyone can do this within a day.
Anyone could do this. I mean, you got to commit to it, right? Like back in the day, you had to commit to 6 months. If you can't commit to the inside of a day where you wake up at 10 a.m. and you have your script and you take a leisurely lunch at noon, and then maybe in the afternoon you get the slide deck done with an AI software and you're ready for dinner. If you can't commit to that, I mean, come on, you're not really that dedicated to whatever it is you're trying to do.
It's pretty easy, right?
It's gotten ridiculously easy, yeah.
Right. And where can people get started? Like, what's the process of getting started in all this?
Well, what we've done with WebinarKit is we wanted to build a software that not only gave people the tools, but also gave them the roadmap. So what we have inside for anyone who grabs WebinarKit, so if they grab our automated webinar software or our live webinar software, we allow people in for $1. Trial for 7 days.
Oh, wow.
And when you get in, you get immediate access to not only automated or live webinars, or both, if you grab both. You get WebinarKit Academy, which teaches you everything from building offers, customer avatar, to building a high converting webinar, and then driving traffic, whether free or paid, because a lot of people wonder, how am I going to get traffic? Well, it's actually I used to think traffic was the hard part. It's actually the easy part. If you have a high converting funnel, you could have very little traffic, but if it's going to the right sales presentation in the right platform, hint,
What's the right platform?
I'll let people take a guess on that one. But essentially, when you do that, you're optimizing to the point where you could have a very small audience and make a ton of money. So Essentially, we give you the training, and now, as I mentioned, everything's moving to AI. The AI training inside of there will show you how to not only learn these things, but just plug them in AI and build everything in some. Honestly, you can build your presentation in less than an hour between AI's portion and then you giving it once over. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to have ever done this before. It's so easy. You don't have to be a tech wizard. You could be a grandma and do this, honestly. You could be a fourth grader or a grandma. This is not rocket science. It's literally like if you can navigate Facebook, you can do this, and it's probably easier than that. So we give you all the training on that in addition to giving you the tools. We also have a community of engaged entrepreneurs inside the WebinarKit community, so you're not really going out this alone. I'm in there. My co-founder's in there. We're active. We help people out. Yeah. So we're giving you the training, the tools, the community. We give you everything that you need, the AI stuff. So you can get started at getwebinarkit.com, and so that's basically it.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing a bunch about your webinar software. Obviously, I know a bit about your software because I've used it for years, but even I learned things there today that I think were really cool. So for
awesome.
Those watching, like if you haven't started a webinar yet, now's the time. It's never been easier. Like you should get started today. Getwebinarkit.com, right?
Getwebinarkit.com.
Getwebinarkit.com, or just click the link below, actually. It'll probably be easier. But pleasure, brother, as always.
Talk soon.
Speak soon.
Yeah.